Didn't realize how close we were. It's what happens. I get to talking. Should have just hit live 10 minutes ago.
I never didn't believe in Bigfoot. I never believed in it. I didn't believe in it. I never given it any thought.
They kept wood knocking back and forth to each other, and it was in a pattern.
Barn owls don't typically throw rocks.
I come across these tracks.
Sasquatch is still not on my mind.
Well, nice of everyone to join us. This is, of course, the Caffeinated Cryptid podcast, home to caffeinated fueled conversations combining incredible scientific perspectives, paranormal research, or captivating stories from eyewitnesses that have experienced high strangeness firsthand. I'm your host, Bobby Dizzle, the MC of this train wreck goat rope, whatever you want to call it today. I'm feeling a lot better than last week, so hopefully I can breathe and not hack in the camera. I don't have a cough button because I buy this stuff from Amazon, so we just have to deal with it. But yeah, I've heard tons of interviews, tons of stories, and I'm ready to get tonight's party started with Mr. Rob Gutro. That's tonight's guest. Not only is Mr. Gutro a world-traveled and veteran medium and paranormal investigator, he's also lived in a haunted house. We're going to talk about that. Rob also believes that dogs, cats, horses, and some birds, I like how it says some birds. I'm curious to know which birds, like is the pigeon just a real arrogant asshole that won't talk to us? Has the ability to send signs to us after they pass away. Lastly, Rob has written several books on his mediumship and the paranormal, on which we will discuss. However, the links to those books and his other websites are in the description if you want to bypass the conversation entirely. Rob, how's it going? Glad to have you. We've been talking for a minute about missed the cue to start.
Yeah, doing great. Thank you for having me, Bobby. It's good to be here. I appreciate it.
I meant to ask you earlier. You said you were in Maine. Do you know who Adam Begin is? Adam Begin?
I do not.
He is well, it's okay if you don't, but he's in Maine up there toward Stephen King's area, and he's obsessed with Stephen King. He's like the unofficial historical liaison for Stephen King stuff, and you said Maine, so I wonder if Adam and him hung out. He does kind of a Michelle Fried-ish kind of thing, kind of a loose agency with people that do this kind of stuff, and he's got a client here from just south of me. And I'm like, that's kind of a long way to go, but okay. They do. He does a good job. But yeah, talk about the I just want to talk about your travels to Ireland because that was interesting. You said you saw 8 ghosts at once in Ireland.
Oh, I saw quite a few in Ireland. So one of the series of books I've written is called The Ghosts on a Medium's Vacation. So wherever I go on vacation, my guard is down as a medium. So just trying to enjoy myself, and ghosts start coming through because they can sense who can communicate with them.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the most haunted place that we went to was Cork City Gaol in the County Cork, City of Cork, and that jail was just filled with earthbound ghosts.
That's seems to be the jails and sanatoriums, hospitals. Always have. Was it a big jail like a prison style, or just just like Mayberry, like 10 or 12 stalls or cells?
No, this was quite a big jail, and it was built in the 1800s, and it looks actually like a castle from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
That's how big it is. So I ran into 8. So what I do too is that when I go on these paranormal investigations, well, this really wasn't, it was a vacation, but even on paranormal investigations or vacation, when I encounter ghosts, I actually sketch them out. So people can see what I see. And on paranormal investigations, I always show the picture that I sketch to the homeowner. And so far, the homeowners have all said that this is the person that they have seen walking through their house. It's pretty cool.
It's interesting that like you just answered my question. Did you expect to you didn't go to Ireland for that purpose? You went for just to see the countryside and see Ireland. But it's interesting that you said when you go on vacation that you start getting you get a lot more what's the word, like interaction. So I'm obsessed with like angel numbers and synchronicities. It's kind of my claim to the paranormal fame because I have nothing else. I'm just kind of a lame guy that likes to talk to cool people. But when I go on vacation, I see angel numbers and synchronicities almost 90% of the time. Like it's like my brain isn't got that weekday anxiety. And so it's not like trying to make things. It's weird. It even happened on a business trip a few weeks ago. We were having kind of a good time and it started happening. I'm like, why is it every time I'm out of town, I start seeing this stuff? Or it gets more fluid. And it's interesting you said it about the spirits. It's almost the same principle.
Yeah. So you have a connection, and you have somebody obviously that's in spirit that is trying to let you know that they're with you to keep you safe. Interesting about angel numbers, though, about my Pets in the Afterlife series, is that numbers are actually one of the ways that spirit will communicate with us. So angel numbers. And on October 22nd, 2020, my dog Dolly passed. She was a Weimaraner. Every day since she passed, I have seen repeating numbers every single day. And I know it's her. Yep. And whether they're on the phone, whether they're on a route number on a street sign, which I saw yesterday, saw 111. We were on, and I had never been on that route before. I saw 44.4 degrees the other day in my weather station in the house. So it doesn't matter, but wherever you see them, know that there's a spirit there that's trying to let you know that.
Man, so she was a Weimaraner then. Those are nice. Those are friendly dogs. Boy, they're anxious. I mean, anxious, but lively. They'll jump all over you.
Yeah, they will. So my first dog, the dog that passed away, that opened the doors for me to communicate with animals, was also a Weimaraner. His name was Buzz, and Buzz was a puppy when he was tragically killed by a car with his leash open. And he's actually behind me here. He's on the cover of my first book. So I have 4 Pets in the Afterlife books, and all of my dogs are on the covers of the books that passed away. I have 4 dogs in spirit because they've all communicated with me. So I teach people how to look for signs from their own pets.
That's interesting. It's got to be close to the way of like kind of like actual people, just not as direct. Or is it direct? I guess pets would have less inhibition.
Yeah. So it is very much like the way people communicate from the other side, but you have to look at it from a pet's perspective. So, I did a reading for somebody, and I said your dog was always like to sit under your table where you're eating or where there was food around. I said, so I assume that's the kitchen table. And she wrote me back and she said, I don't have a kitchen table. I live in a small apartment. I have a small table where I prepare food, and he used to like to sit under that. And I'm like, well, to him, it's a kitchen table because that's they don't know the difference between a small table and a kitchen table.
Have you ever heard of Tony Bruschi with Real Ghost Stories Online? Like one of his, he has a big collection of stories and from people that call him. But one of his earliest ghost encounters was a black cat that he had that died when he was about 6 or 8 years old. Maybe a little younger, but he remembers the night after it passed away, he felt it jump up on the bed. That's what I always think about. Like if that happens, we've got a dog now that it's got 1 foot on a banana peel. It's not. You can tell they get the signs, but like I'm just like if that happens, I'm not going to know what to do because I'm so open now and waiting for it. Hopefully it doesn't. Maybe it does like once, but is that something other people have experienced? Is just the feeling of them being around, physical feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they'll share. They'll come to us in different physical ways. So cats typically like to jump up on the end of a bed, or they like to curl up on the pillow behind pet parent's head. Maybe a couple of them have come through and have brushed their parents' hair at night, and the cat has passed away, so there's nobody there. Dogs like to do the same thing. They like to curl up and lay against your legs or your back on your bed, and you may feel a coolness or a tingling, or even a slight pressure, to tell you that dog is right there.
Now you do the afterlife. Obviously, do you communicate during the living when a pet's living?
Only my own.
You don't do it like a little Caesar Milan kind of thing, except
No. So I call that an animal communicator, because those are the ones that can connect to living pets to find out like why they have behavior problems and so forth. I don't have that gift. My gift is only to communicate with pets that passed.
I had one on like 2 weeks ago, so I was like, how am I getting this run of pet communicators all of a sudden, or people that talk to animals? Because it's interesting, because it makes you wonder just how so you talk to your own, you just said, like how I guess is it telepathically? I guess that's how they would translate it, because they obviously don't know English.
Yeah, well, they, believe it or not, they do know some English, because we teach them words.
Basics.
I just had them out and I said it's dinner time, and they were right back at the door. So, so they do. So I've done an analysis of dogs and cats, and I cite Dr. Stanley Coren, who wrote a couple of books called The Intelligence of Dogs, How Dogs Think. And he concluded that dogs were his baseline, have the intelligence of a 3 to 5 year old child, because they can memorize words. They know routine. They know how we teach them how to interact with others. We take them to school. We take them to the vet. We take them to obedience school. So we really do a lot of the same things that we do with human children.
It's weird if they know they're going to the vet. That's one thing I've often seen.
Yeah,
they can feel it. I don't understand it.
I think it's because they can sense our emotions, and they know that a lot of times we're a little anxious, wondering if they're going to be.
Yeah, this isn't the park we're going to. You can tell it's
right.
He doesn't have a ball.
Yeah, where are the treats?
I had a Jack Russell. Of course, I grew up kind of out in the sticks, and so anytime a dog was getting in the car, it was to go to a vet. So it was very apprehensive. And I'd get that. You'd have to get your little carrier out for it, and of course, it's a Jack Russell, so it's a ping pong ball.
Yeah,
you catch it, grab it around the rib cage, and it's doing that thing where it does a corkscrew. And it knew if I was home and I put in that carrier, what was happening. So, that was a no brainer there. But just like a regular, like the dogs we have now that we carry different places, they know when it's vet and when it's going to the grandma Gammy's house. They know the difference.
Yeah, and of course you probably announced that you're going to grandma's house too. So that makes it. Yeah.
We do. Like I was going to say, they have one of our dog's sisters over there, and so like, you want to go see Lily? He's like, you say the name, they know. They about bounce off the door. They'll get out and run around the yard about getting the road. I'm like, God Almighty.
Well, maybe you need to find a vet with a first name Lily, and then the dog will be confused.
The vet. There's one right down the road. She better change her name, and I'm not driving any farther.
There you go.
Hey, by the way, your name's Lily now, Dr. Combs. That's pretty cool, though. Remember the old? I'm not sure how we are age wise, but I used to do this whole myth that on Christmas night at midnight you could talk to animals. I remember thinking that was the coolest thing, knowing it wasn't true. But, man, what if you could? What could you ask an animal? Then, like, what was that? There was something else you could talk to animals at the same time, but then I always wonder, like, what do hunting dogs think of? Like, this is what I do. Like, I'm going to go after. Like, do they know that they're hunting dogs, or are they like geared toward that? Like these like service animals, even like CNI dogs. Like, how do they? What in the world's going through their mind?
I think that once a dog is trained in a certain way, that what they want to do is they want to please us because that's the way they are. It's just unconditional love. So no matter what job we assign them, they're always going to try and do it to their best abilities.
Have you ever heard like how the CNI dogs, like the commands, how they won't go to the bathroom or anything? They go like busy, and that's when they go to the bathroom. Like my friend said, his will hold it till he's about dead before he'll go. Like you have to like really be cognizant of it because you'll forget.
Oh my gosh, no,
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're that disciplined. I imagine they'd probably whine or something, but he said he'll hold an ungodly amount of time.
Well, we have the opposite problem. I have a 16 and a half Dachshund Chihuahua mix. So he can hold it about an hour and that's it.
I was going to say, no, you don't. They don't. You're on his time.
Yeah.
16-year-old Dachshund?
16 and a half, yeah.
Wow. Is it?
Yeah.
Well, what part of him's Dachshund? Is it his head or his body?
It's his it's his fur. He's mixed with a long-haired Dachshund and a Chihuahua.
Okay.
So he has Chihuahua legs, a Chihuahua Dachshund face, and a Dachshund fur. But at 16 and a half, he's going blind, but he runs up and down stairs, so.
Yeah, I was going to say, if he's got a Chihuahua body, he's probably good for another 5 years.
Yeah, they live quite a long time.
Those Dachshunds fall apart.
Well, we have two other Dachshunds.
The back issues get me because they're such a fun dog, but anything happens, it's just you're constantly worried. Like, don't jump off the bed. Don't jump off the bed.
Oh yeah, we have ramps everywhere.
Yeah. Steps.
Ramps. Can't do steps anymore. It has to do ramps. So.
My in-laws had one with a wheelchair attached to it.
Oh gosh.
He looked like the dog from what movie was that? The dog was it Pocahontas? The dog with the wheelchair? God, what movie was that? This is so off topic. I love it.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, this is me. This is me doing the thing where I go ADHD and thinking random stuff.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's all right.
Got to talking about Dachshunds. Yeah, I love Dachshunds a lot. I don't particularly desire to have my wife's the one that gets the dogs. I just deal with them. But
You're
the
a good
Dachshunds,
man.
I just get hair everywhere.
So we've worked with with rescues for about 15 years, Dachshunds and Weimaraner rescues, because those are the two dogs that we have, the two breeds. But one of the things I do that I haven't mentioned yet is that over the last 6 years, I contact animal rescues, and what I do is I set up fundraisers. So I will go to the rescue and I will lecture and teach people how pets communicate from the afterlife. And the rescue will charge an admission, and I don't take anything. So all the money they raise goes right to the rescue, to the dogs and cats and so forth. And that's been really helpful to the rescue and to the people who attend. So that's one of the things I like to do in my spare time.
People come to like that little class and learn how to talk to the animals after they.
Well, they learn how to read signs from their pets.
Signs.
Yeah.
That's possible. Yeah, it's like we were saying earlier. It's got to be very similar to like the talking to the spirit guides in the pet.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of our pets do become our spirit guides. I know that my dog Buzz, the one that passed first, is one of my spirit guides, and he's the one that led me to adopt Dolly, the next Weimaraner. And that's another thing too, is that if you've lost a pet, your pet in spirit will lead you to the next pet they want you to adopt. And I've seen that happen many, many times. There was a woman that I met that said that she did not want to adopt another black and white dog. She had a black and white dog that was the love of her life. And she said, I want a different color dog because I want her to be the only black and white dog. Well, she went to a rescue, or a shelter rather, and they put money deposit on this other dog, a medium-sized brown dog. She and her husband went back the next morning to pick up the dog that they were adopting, and the dog had been adopted out. She was heartbroken. So they said, oh, well, we have another dog that has the same temperament, just like it. They brought out a black and white dog, medium size. And she wrote me and she said, I don't understand. I wanted her to be the only black and white dog. And I said, well, your dog wanted you to adopt another black and white because not only will she train your new dog to do some things that she used to do, but it will also remind you that she is still very much around you at the same time.
Yeah, that's the way that the universe does things.
Mhm.
You think something's a lot, and it just flips it on its head.
That's right. Yeah, it does.
Especially like if that would have happened to me, I would have immediately thought, well, this is meant to. I would have like gone, harder toward the dog they brought out. Especially because in my mind I had that limitation built up. So
Mhm.
if something passed through that, the unanswered prayers kind of thing, that's when you know it was meant to be. Like I've had,
Yeah.
this has nothing to do with the dog, but it's very relevant. I had a truck that I loved, and that'll sound stupid, but it's one I had in college that I liked a lot, and I went to sell it because I got a brand new one because it got old and I had more children, and I let a guy test drive it who was being kind of a dick about it, and on the way, one of the spark plugs messed up on it. Hadn't messed up in 10 years.
Oh wow.
On the way to it, and so it's just like it sounded like no, I knew what it was. It happened a couple times before. I've had the truck for 20 years about it. And I told him, I said, it happened just now. I'm like, it happened at that stop sign. You can see. Of course, he thought I was lying. I mean,
Sure.
it looked like a flim flam operation. He drove it around, and I'm like, I'm sorry. And he drove kind of a little ways away to do it. And I'm after it was done, I drove the truck to the O'Reilly's Auto Parts store and drove it home. I had it fixed within the hour, and just drove home like a top. And I got a call from another fella that night about his sister, who is a nurse who had a problem with pills after an injury. That got off of them, got her life back in order, got her kids back, and was going to buy her son a truck for his birthday with the money she got from recovering herself. And that truck ran like a scalded dog, no pun intended, for that family. And they brought it, and they got the exact amount I asked for it. I'm like, that was meant to be. I mean, that's the same. I was like, I've never thought like something as lame as corny as a truck would be like universally bound. But yeah, I mean, the story and the fact that they knew my family and everything is out of nowhere. So it's kind of the same as the black and white dog. Like something like that happened, you're like, yep, that's what's supposed to happen.
Yeah, there's a spirit guide that is
What's up, Wayne?
helping us.
And you feel bad when you just want to rush him. Like, would you guys just hurry up? Like, stop sending me signs and just make something happen.
True. This is true. Yeah. We have to be patient, though. One of the things that I hear from people all the time is that when their pet passes, they want signs immediately. Everybody wants signs immediately, but it doesn't happen, and it doesn't often happen. And although your pets are trying to come through to you right after they pass to assure you they're okay, grief is a negative emotional energy, and that blocks out their positive emotional energy. So grief can block messages from spirit, and dreams are the easiest way for spirit to communicate with us because our logical minds are asleep when we sleep. So that's the time that they can get through the most.
That checks out, because when we lost my Jack Russell, I dreamt about her for like a month and a half every night.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And, I wasn't like, I say I did. I've never it wasn't like actual human grief over a dog. I mean, I understand that I love that dog. It's probably the next to last one I ever did have any kind of feelings for. And now I got the ones that my wife just brings home, and they're here and fun to throw a piece of cheese at. But those are the ones when I lived with my parents, the dogs we had. So it's like it's my dog. Like I'm a boy, his dog. So after she died, like I was like dreaming about it, and like it was crazy. And then it just kind of went away. It's like she hopped away.
So what happens that I found is that after a while, after we're able to dream about them and see signs from them, once they know that we're okay and we have accepted their passing, then they only come around on special occasions like birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays. Anniversaries like the anniversary of their adoption or the anniversary of their passing. So so we shouldn't expect to see signs all the time, even though we want to. But there are so many different other ways that pets will give us signs. I mean, you may hear their name mentioned while you're outside. You may find a coin. Although dogs and cats don't know what coins are, they get help from human spirits to lead us to a sign that you would recognize. So, for instance, if you find a coin after your cat passed, and your cat passed in 2018, and look at the coin, look at the date on it, because that will tell you who it is that's trying to send you a sign.
So the date itself.
Yeah. So there's this one spirit that I've connected to for the last 18 years. A guy that I never met in life, but he's connected to my partner. And he came along for the ride. And I've gotten to know him very well. I call him a best friend in spirit, even though I've never met him physically. He uses coins. And he passed in the year 1996. And every time I need help or he wants to let me know he's around, I find a coin dated 1996. And I've found coins dated 1996 after every one of my dogs passed, because I asked him to let us know that our dogs are with him. And I have found a 1996 coin. Now, that was a long time ago. So, they're not that common.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you're like, I wish the signs would happen like right after another, like a ticker. And it's pointless. It's pointless if you know that the signs are signs for them to keep doing it.
Yeah.
That's what mine used to give me one like 7 or 8 at a time over a course of 2 or 3 days. Now they'll give me like my favorite angel number next to another number. Like, here, this is the one you're supposed to look at. And we're not going to do it again because you're smart enough to know. But how did you start to realize that particular spirit person was who it was? How'd you figure out who it was, and then that they were attached to your partner, or they were even there to begin with?
Because he showed up in my rearview mirror when I was driving. Oh. Yeah. Oh, shit. Scared the daylights out of me. That was the first appearance, and and then he started telling me about things that he used to do with my partner. So, and then which were confirmed.
Wow. So this was like real experience then. This wasn't like through. Okay. Yeah. I forget that you actually do the telepathic thing too.
Yeah. So
wow. So it was just it was on the nose, so to speak.
Yeah. And
in your rear view.
And he's been on every vacation with us too. He sent a lookalike to rescue us when we got lost in a wooded area in England at sunset. And the guy that came out, he worked for the Royal Mail. We were lost. There was nobody around. Didn't know where we were. The GPS back then in 2012, GPS went haywire. It was getting dark. We couldn't figure out our way out. And this guy in a Royal Mail truck came over the hill, and I flagged him down. He got out of that truck, and I'll tell you, Bobby, he looked just like Ed would have looked had he lived to be in his 50s. It freaked us both out. Yeah.
So your partner knew him in real life too.
Oh yeah, they were a couple.
Well, that's just the fact that he knew him, like saw him actually in person, and then all of a sudden, like, there he is. Oh shit.
Yeah, it's pretty freaky. So spirits will also lead us to lookalikes. So they'll use coins. They'll use feathers. They'll influence butterflies, birds, to behave erratically on a certain date. It has to be around a birthday, anniversary, or holiday. But they will lead you to someone who looks like them, and that goes for pets as well as people. And there was a story that I love to tell is about a woman who came up to me at one of my lectures, and she said that her mom had passed a couple of months ago, and she said she was in traffic and she looked over and there was a woman with white hair and glasses that looked exactly like her mother before her mother passed, driving. They were both at a stoplight, and she said, you're going to think I'm out of my mind, but I followed her for about a half a mile before I realized what I was doing. And I knew, then I said, what am I doing? That's not my mother. I'm going to freak this poor woman out. My mother just passed away.
Can't be.
So her mother sent her, a lookalike, showed her a lookalike to let her know that her mother's still around.
Still, the lookalikes are crazy.
It is.
There's a fella an older fella at church reminds me of my grandfather that passed away a few years ago, and I almost kind of like drift toward him. Like he sort of resembles him, and he has like the same kind of health problems, and like random, same kind of, how older gentlemen will wear like polo shirts for no reason, like bright colored polos. I don't know what that's about. They're all frat boys for some. Once they hit 70, they start dressing like they're going to a mixer.
Yeah,
popping their collar. But yeah, it just reminds me of him. Wears his hat the same way. And it's weird how you'll get those kind of just encounters that meant to be or not, how your brain responds, like almost like if there's enough commonalities, you'll start using the same kind of behavior toward them, even if they're not. That's what I would think about for if clones came around. Like, how would you handle a clone? Like, say you had a close relative that they had cloned that passed away tragically. Like, how would you just, like, your body? I can't imagine how that would feel.
Yeah, I don't know, but I with all the stuff about cloning, they're individuals, so they develop their own personality. Yeah. So they're not going to have the same personality as the person who passed. Like
that's Dolly the gets me. Yeah, like just imagine like if you saw like your best friend and that the guy was kind of like being mean and like rooted for a different sport team. You're like, what in the world is wrong with this guy? I just it's all the things I think about. Because did you ever watch that show called Upload, where the people would die and get put into the artificial? They would pay money and their souls would get uploaded to a city, like only the rich people could, and all the helpers, like the groundskeepers and the people that worked at the facility, virtually, were just one dude. What is that going to be like? You think you're friends with one guy and he's like, all of a sudden he's the guy cutting the grass or changing the toilet paper. It's a good show.
No, I haven't seen that one.
It's called Upload. I think it's on Prime. Wayne wants to know, do you believe the other pets in the household actually grieve the passing of a pet? I think they do.
Oh gosh, absolutely. Any living thing will grieve for any other living thing. Whether it's a lion in the wild whose cub passed away, or a cat whose sibling cat passed away. Yes, they grieve exactly the same as we do. That means too that if you have two cats in your house or two dogs in your house and one of them passes away and they've been companions for a while, you're going to notice that living pet, the one that's left behind, will likely not want to be as interactive anymore, not for a while until they get through their grief, maybe not eat, and so forth. So they absolutely exhibit the same grief that we do. There have been scientific studies, though, psychological studies, that prove that humans will grieve more deeply for their pets than some people. And that's because we raise our pets to be like children, and our children are not supposed to outlive us. And I'm one of those people. When I lost, our 4 dogs over time, I grieved for them much more deeply than I grieved for some people. And there are some people you just don't grieve for. I'll just throw that out there. But it's true. I mean, we really do. They grieve just like we do, and they need more attention as well. So, give your pets more attention if they lose a sibling.
I've noticed that dogs and cats will hide a lot, especially cats. When the other one dies, they'll be just like, "Yo, where's the cat at?" And they'll come out to eat, but like you won't see them. I don't know where they go. But then after about 6 weeks, they'll start reappearing, hopping around. A few months ago.
They've worked. Yeah, that's a sign that they've worked through their grief. And I will tell you too that our pets dream. So anybody who has a dog will know that your dog will dream. So that said, that our pets who pass will come into their dreams as well, just as they will for us.
Sport cat in the house. That's Glenn getting all the riffraff up in here now. My mom has a famous story. When she grew up, they had horses, and one of them had a stillborn. Okay. And she remembers that mother horse have like crying actual tears.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's I remember them, and I've heard people talking about cows doing the same thing when they have a stillborn.
Hmm.
Then you get cows that just reject their babies altogether. So I don't know what's up.
So yeah, every living thing can process grief and love and so forth. Every living thing has the same emotions that we do. You know, some of your pets can even show jealousy. You know, if it one, because we have dogs, and one of them likes to take some of the other's toys, and they'll be jealous of the other's toys. So there's absolutely no difference between us and pets. And I always tell people that there's no difference between a pet and a human child, except that a human child will marry someone you don't like and move away, and your pet will never do that.
Pet will never do that.
Nope.
You get another one and call it your sister, when it's clearly not your sister. That's your sister, man. So I was at Sunday dinner a while ago at my relative's house, my grandmother's house, and they had a brindle dog run up, and it's just like it lives there now. It's kind of out. They're out in the sticks, and my cousin's dog's about a half a mile down the road, and they'll come when they walk to Sunday dinner. They'll come, and their dogs will come too. And when his dogs and that new brindle dog got in this fight in the yard. I don't know what it was. Like, what is that noise? All of a sudden, it's like two T-Rexes. And my aunt was right beside it when it happened. She's like running, like when Godzilla attacked Tokyo. It was the funniest thing. Then I got in trouble because I didn't help my aunt out. I was like, I didn't know what to do. I thought it was funny. They only fought for like 5 seconds. You know, you hear a dog fight.
Kids will be kids, whether or not they're canine, feline, or human, right?
And they're both uncut male dogs too, so that's going to happen.
Yep.
Just a powder keg ready to happen in any minute.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So when you lost the first dog, Buzz, how did the initiation into your communication start? Like, how did you know you had that kind of deal?
Yeah. So earlier you mentioned a Garth Brooks song.
I did.
Right.
I probably did.
Unanswered Prayers.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I think.
Yeah. And it was actually a musical sign that was Buzz's first sign to me.
Really?
Because he got help from somebody on the other side. So I was out walking him and my roommate's dog at the time when his leash opened and he was killed by a car. When I got home, after about an hour and a half, all the neighbors came out. They helped me. They brought his body back to my house so that I could drive it to the vet and have him cremated. So the minute I walked in the house, the radio was on. The radio wasn't on when I left, and my roommate at the time was at work, so I didn't understand how the radio was on, but the radio was playing "The Dance" by Garth Brooks.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
Very, very poignant song.
Symbolic.
Yeah, about a man who loved deeply and lost the love of his life, and that was Buzz to me. And wow, that was the first thing. Yeah. So the second thing was when I got to the vet, a couple of friends I had called on the way. They met me there, and we were waiting outside the vet after they took his body, and they were just gonna, lay him out for us to come in and say goodbye to him. We were standing next to the back of the building, and they had all their trash barrels there, and I heard Buzz in my head say, "Dad, I'm okay." And I thought, what? And suddenly one of the lids from the trash can flew up 4 feet in the air. And we all ran over to look behind it to see if there was a squirrel or an animal or anything. There was nothing. So he moved that trash can lid. I saw him in the physical. I saw his shadow another time. And you'll get a kick out of this story. He did not like my roommate because my roommate had some anger problems. And one weekend after Buzz had passed, I was outside waiting in my pickup truck, waiting for my roommate. So we were going to go out grocery shopping. And the roommate ran out screaming from the house because he said he saw a sneaker move from one side of the hallway to the other side of the hallway. And Buzz used to destroy sneakers in his short life. So I silently thanked Buzz because my roommate was a jerk. But Buzz actually found the strength, the energy to pick that sneaker up and move it from one place to another.
It's like the Beetlejuice when he scared Lydia's mom and dad.
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh, I love that movie.
Oh man, it's crazy that you walk in the room and the dance is playing. That can only mean one thing. That song is very specific.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, while I was looking for my keys, there was one other song, and I couldn't figure out what radio was playing. One other song came on right after it, was also meaningful. It was an old song by Alan Jackson. It was called "My Heart's as Empty as a Monday Morning Church," and it's about a man who lost his partner, and he buried her, and his heart was as empty as a Monday morning church. And that also resonated with me as a direct message from Buzz. So that said, for everybody that's listening, if you get in your car and you turn on the radio and you hear something that reminds you of someone, know that spirit influenced you to get in your car at that very moment, turn on that radio at that very time, and it was on that very station, so they can give you a message.
You know, after I had a specific song from my grandfather before he died that related to one of his hobbies, and like the whole week after he passed away, about twice that song was a song to play when my alarm clock went off.
Wow!
And the first time it happened, it was a version of it that wasn't like the radio cut; it was a live version. Like it was just random. Like, why in the world would they play that? Like, I've never heard this version of that song before. And so it happened about a half a dozen times over a couple of months. It wasn't because his death wasn't one of those kinds that you're not like, oh my God, we're so shocked it happened. We knew it was like en route. And so it was more like a soothing kind of thing, not like horribly painful. Like, it's just like, we hate that he's gone, but we're glad that he's not like sick anymore. I remember that happened a lot. Like, I would almost come to expect it. But the first time with that version, I was like, what in the world? What's Glenn talking about? So when you wake up with a song stuck in your head, yeah, it's the same thing.
Yep. And then if you wind up thinking things that you normally wouldn't think about, that's a spirit trying to get through you.
Yep.
But usually it happens when you're in places of calm, like for instance, taking a shower. I've heard big band music while I'm taking a shower, and my dad used to play, excuse me, in a big band when he was younger, and I knew it was him, and it happened to be around within 2 weeks of his birthday that I heard that big band music. And nobody plays big band music anymore, really.
Not for fun.
No. Yeah, nobody drives by your house blasting big band music out of their car.
Nobody plays 76 trombones from the end of Music Man. Of course I would, because I like that song.
I remember that song.
The music. Yeah,
I'm old enough.
Glenn has a sport cat here. I'm just telling people's names like you know them. But there's a famous story. That I used to hunt possums, and somebody got offended when I told it. That's beside the point. We're not talking about that here, but a long time ago. But the other morning I woke up, and I've been worrying about something for a while now, trying to make something happen in my life. And I woke up the other morning. I stood up Saturday morning. I don't have to go to work. I stood up. As soon as my feet hit the floor and I stood up, the number 37 appeared in my vision. For like 15 minutes. I have no idea what it means. But like, it's almost like somebody flipped a switch, like cut to camera 2, 37's in the. It's like it moved over here a little bit. I don't know what that was about.
You haven't figured it out yet?
I've got a couple of ideas, and if it doesn't happen in the next couple of weeks, I don't know what it is. I'm just going to hang with what it might mean. I'm thinking it might mean 3 weeks from something that happened, 3 times 7, 3 by 7. The
Or a
ancient
month
number
and a day.
37 means something. Yeah.
Like March 7th.
Yeah. Well, fun fact, the 37 appeared a lot back in February. And I thought, oh, March 7th is going to be crazy. Nothing happened. And so I'm like, why would you do that? I even had something special happening on March 7th. I'm like, well, that's going to be something. And I'm like, that happened and then nothing. So it must mean something else. I don't know. That was maybe an event like a domino fell that day that I still haven't seen in my 3D.
It'll come out. So sometimes with spirit, it takes a while. And I have an example of that. I did a reading for a gentleman named David who lost a black Labrador retriever.
Mhm.
And he asked, whatever the lab wants to tell me, et cetera, et cetera. And at the end of the reading, I told him that the lab was very adamant about the number 512. And I wrote it to him and he wrote me back. He says, everything makes sense except for this. I have no idea what this is. And then 8 months later, Bobby, 8 months later, he wrote me and he said, Rob, you may not remember me, but I'm the guy with the black lab that gave you the number 512. And he said, I finally think I figured out what it means. And he said, full disclosure, I'm a doctor. He said, I was in the office today with a patient of mine who suffered from a collapsed lung. And I was there writing on his chart, and the code was 512. And he said, that's what my dog passed away from.
From that sickness the guy had?
A collapsed lung. Yes. He had collapsed lung. His lungs collapsed. So the dog, with the help of human spirit, shared the number 512 with his dad. And his dad couldn't figure it out until he encountered a patient 8 months later.
Oh, but did he know what actually happened to the dog beforehand and just kind of correlated it?
He did, yeah.
He knew the dog had
He
a
did,
collapsed lung.
But he never thought about the code.
Oh, so the dog was just like saying, hey, man, that's what I had.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. See, that stuff happens a lot. And I hate people that don't understand, think it's all fake. What's the paradox that when you start thinking of something, you see it all the time? They say that's what it is. That's not it. I think that's what the paradox, I think that's what it is, but it's not like the cause of that paradox. I think the paradox is the explanation of, or I'm chasing a tail here. You know what I'm saying? That's the result.
Yes. Yeah.
Like if you want to get a new Subaru Outback, then you see them all the time.
That's absolutely true. So I want to go back to pets for just a minute because
Yeah, go ahead.
in the beginning of the show, you mentioned about some birds that are able to communicate.
Yes. Sorry, I wasn't trying to make fun of you. I just thought it was funny. Like, what if some wouldn't? Like, which ones won't?
No, you're right. I mean, so any animal that is domesticated that lives with us has the ability to communicate with people. So wild birds can't because they don't know our language. They don't know our habits. They don't know our routines. They don't know anything about us. I mean, they're outside. They see us inside, for the most part. There's no way that they can identify with us. But living birds, like pet birds, like cockatoos or parrots or anything else that live within a home, they hear words. I mean, and some of the, parrots will repeat words, but they hear words, they see people, they see us doing things. And as a medium, they have shared, these birds that lived within a home have shared images with me about things that they've seen during their lifetime and words that they've heard. So it's only domesticated animals. Wild animals, I cannot communicate with wild animals because they don't have any link to people.
Mhm.
They don't live in our houses. But I've communicated with people who have had ferrets, rabbits, pet rats, pet mice, you name it. It's been crazy, and it's amazing that these animals can pick up. So one cat even kept telling me about Taylor Swift. Okay, so I wrote to the pet parent, and the pet parent said nothing about this. And I wrote to the pet parent, and I said, I can't. It was a dog. I'm sorry. And I said, for some reason this dog will not get off Taylor Swift. I don't get it. And she wrote me back, and she said, "Oh my God," she said, my daughter, every day when the daughter gets home from school, takes the dog up to her room and plays Taylor Swift. It's her favorite. My daughter even looks like Taylor Swift. So that dog heard the name and learned what it was and passed it on to me, who didn't know anything about, this person. Doesn't know who it is, but shared the name with me. So our pets pick up much more than we think they do.
So this dog's like hearing Taylor Swift all the time. It's like trying to, like, what was that?
Yeah, isn't it crazy though? So I just read a study too that came out last summer that said cats are really amazingly astute when it comes to picking up words and emotions from pet parents. They may not say anything, but they watch every second you're in the house, and they know where you're going and what you're doing. So don't say anything in front of your cat that you don't want your partner to know.
Well, what about like animals like crows and dolphins? The telepathic crows that bring you like money if you give them food, bring you coins. You can teach them things.
Yeah, I haven't had any experience with crows, but I guess any animal that has interaction with people have the ability to convey things. Yeah, sure. Even a dolphin. Absolutely.
I feel like a dolphin, there's like an old comedian did a joke about how what if dolphins are just people in dolphin bodies and they think like you when they're just in the sea? It's possible. Pigs are about the same way. Although delicious, they are very smart.
Well, yeah, they are. They are very smart. Yep.
There's a Rick and Morty outtake about he finds out squirrels are running the world, and he puts on a helmet that can talk to animals, and they figure out squirrels have this giant cabal. Like, wait, can that kid hear us? And they start testing it, and like all of a sudden there's like 50,000 squirrels following Morty down the street, and he's running. He goes, get him! It's the only thing I can think of. You should. I'm gonna have to send that to you. But
okay.
We talked earlier about how I named the episode "Talking to Bigfoot," and we're going to discuss later if you could talk to Bigfoot. So let's dive into that before we get to like the last topic, and then your plugs. But
sure. So I have not had that experience, but if Bigfoot communicated with humans and watches humans and understands their words, absolutely a medium could pick up on it.
Like the big thing with the whole Bigfoot phenomenon is that they can sense intention and what the person is doing when they come in, and do they have a rifle? Do they want to collect a body for a specimen? And then like a lot of times if they sense like some D-bag with with an AR coming in there, I'm a Bigfoot hunter, they get their muscles out. They won't show them at all. But like if little old lady that just lives on a farm and likes to bake cake, put it in a window, they'll like walk up to their house and send messages to them. Like you were saying, like we're here, we do this. It's weird who gets the positive experience and who gets just nothing. So I bet the phenomenon's very similar to the dog and cat thing.
So animals, in probably including Bigfoot too. I don't know, but they can read our emotions too. So they can sense, because emotions are really an energy. So it's just like earthbound ghosts versus spirits. I call them two different things because they are different. They're energy with our memories and personality and knowledge, which is basically a soul. But a spirit to me has crossed over into the light, heaven, Valhalla, paradise, the other side. Ghosts are earthbound. Mm-hmm. They are the ones that choose to stay earthbound at a fixed location. And they are also not only comprised of physical energies like heat, light, water, and electricity, but negative emotional energies are ghosts. spirits are positive, like love, faith, and hope. But ghosts are
Mhm.
fear, anxiety, depression, and anger. Those things fuel an earthbound ghost. Well, spirits draw on love. For me, as a scientist, it's all about energy, and I go really into that description, but that's for another time. But I want everybody to know that 99.5% of your pets will cross over. I've only encountered 3 pets that stayed behind over, and one was from 120 years ago, who's still here.
Really?
And the other 2 are cats. But
It's
for the
always a
most
cat.
part, nothing to worry about. Your pets are on the other side, safely with your relatives in spirit.
It's always a cat. They always stick around. There was a medium I had on. I can't remember how long ago, but saying that like the big thing with ghost hunters, you get the scratches. Everybody always talks about, and like a lot of times those are just ghost cats that scratch somebody.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
they say it's a demon, but it's just a cat.
So I'm not a big demon believer. I think that demons are actually entities from other universes. I mean, as a scientist, I know we have over 8,000 exoplanets around. Those are planets around other solar systems.
Oh yeah.
We have another 5,500 that are uncatalogued. So for us to think that we're the only ones anywhere in the cosmos, that's kind of crazy.
I think it's people think that are just like, you don't have any imagination or common sense.
So,
45 billion quadrillion planets.
At
least there's bacteria somewhere. I mean, you can't think there's not bacteria somewhere doing something.
Yeah, I mean, we've already found water within our own solar system on a couple of the moons around other planets.
So ain't nothing but water.
Yeah, exactly. And where there's water, there's life. So, but my point is that whatever entity lives somewhere else in some other universe, as energy, just like a spirit of a person, you can travel anywhere, anytime, any place around the cosmos. You're connected to that energy that streams through the universe. So if they come here and they don't know what we are, the first thing they're going to do is get defensive.
So that's the aliens do.
Yeah.
Can't imagine the crossing over kind of thing. With the with the spirits that cross over, there's always TV shows that show. Fringe had the whole thing about that. The show with Anna. Did you ever see Fringe, a J.J. Abrams show? It was so good.
I did not. I have to confess, I'm not a big TV watcher unless it has a superhero in
it. This was like it had X-File vibes, but a few years later. And there was one episode where this apartment, the whole thing was the big MacGuffin of the show was that the universes were crossing over slowly, and so each year, each season, it's like, it was going to collapse if they didn't stop it. That was the big thing. But there was like a tear in this old lady's apartment, and that she had died in this universe. In that universe, she was alive, and so the tear in her apartment, they each were seeing each other, and there was that was part of it. It's kind of similar to what you're talking about. If a demon comes over, like, what the hell is this?
Yeah,
start fighting.
So I think that TV show took its theme from a big comic book storyline in 1985 called Crisis on Infinite Earths, where Earths from different dimensions were merging together.
It's probably very similar because it's J.J. Abrams, so he definitely knows his way around that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Boy, we got way off of pets, didn't we?
Look, this isn't the podcast where you come to do your CBS Sunday morning or Today show. You're not going to I'm not going to put your book up on the stage and say he does this.
No.
Everything around it, and it's no fun to talk about that. I mean, your website's in there, and
I don't care. No, this is fascinating. I love the topics that we were talking about tonight.
Oh yeah, that's how I do it, man. Especially and authors. No matter what the person's authored, they always have a good conversation because they have a shtick and they know their stuff, and they're not just like some guy that saw like his house was haunted at one time, and they barely knows how to work a telephone. I used to love those in-person encounters, but God, you'd have to work conversation style and have something ready to go next, or it was just awkward pause. So what happened? We saw a ghost and stare at you.
Yeah, I know that's
Can't do
crazy.
it. I was wanting to ask you one thing. I had in my notes. The past life regression and Tombstone. I wanted to hear about that
Hmm.
because I like that movie and I like the whole Old West lore and OK Corral. So I wanted to hear about that one.
Sure. So when that movie came out in 1993 with Val Kilmer and Kurt Russell, I was enamored with it. Something looked eerily familiar to me, and I really wanted to go out there and explore the town. And remember, back in 1993, there were no cell phones, there was no internet,
Mhm.
it was nothing. All I had was an Arizona map, big map of Arizona, and Tombstone was a tiny little dot in the southern part.
Mhm.
And that's all I knew about it. And whatever was in the movie, which the movie was not shot in Tombstone, it was shot at a studio lot in Tucson. So I didn't even know what the actual town looked like. But I convinced a friend of mine to go with me the next year, 1994, and we decided, you'll probably find this goofy, Bobby. We decided that we were going to go and have fun, do it in the fun way. I dressed as Wyatt Earp, he dressed as Doc Holliday. We wanted to see the town that way, and it was really cool. And we both grew out the big mustaches and everything. So,
Did you cough the whole time?
no, he was Doc Holliday. So he was.
That's how I felt last week with the pneumonia.
Yeah, exactly.
Called myself the lunger.
I can relate to that. So anyway, long story short, when we first got to the town, we parked at the very outskirts of town and near the Birdcage Theater. That was really the end of town.
Mm-hmm.
And we started walking into town. We hadn't even come like 3 minutes, and some tourists came up to us and said to me, thinking I was a role player because they do a recreation of the OK Corral shootout out there, which I didn't know. He came up to me and he said, "Where's the courthouse? Do you know? Can you tell me which way to go?" And I said, "Sure." I said, "You go down here, you go down 2 blocks, you take a left, you go down 1 block, and then you turn right, and it's on your left-hand side." And I had never been there before. And my friend looked at me and goes, "What the hell did you just say?"
Oh, so you didn't know this information. You just rattled it off. Oh my
I
gosh.
had no idea. And so we followed my directions, and that sure enough, that's exactly where it was. And he said, "How did you know this?" Well, I had no explanation at that time, but now I know that I had a past life in Tombstone, and I was a miner, and I had a hound dog, and I did a past life regression, and that's what all came through. That's how I knew exactly where that building was.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is very crazy.
Sub question: do you talk to the hound dog? Have you heard from the hound dog?
No, he's
That'd be meta.
reincarnated as I have. So he may have reincarnated as my dog Dolly.
What if he did? What was his name? You know his name?
I don't. I didn't go into that. But so when my partner and I went to Ireland, the same kind of experience. Before describing under a past life regression exactly the kind of house lived in, and when we got to Ireland, when we got to the Dingle Peninsula in Ireland, in a museum there was an exact recreation of a home from the 1500s, exactly as he described.
Wow,
it was freaky. Yeah,
that's I don't know what would happen if that. You just feel that connection and know everything about a place.
Mm-hmm. So what that means is if you or anybody that's listening is drawn to a certain place in the world or a certain time period, you likely lived there and then before.
Now got me thinking. I always think that I should have lived in the 30s. I don't know why. I think it's because I grew up around a bunch of old people, but that could be like all my pop culture references for the first 10 years of my life were from the 30s and the 40s. You'd have thought I fought the war. Back in my day, the Nazis.
But it is true though. If you're drawn to a certain place and you don't understand why, that's that's very likely the reason.
That tombstone story may be a clip I cut out of this thing. That sounds. And of course, I'm going to use the Taylor Swift one because that's just clickbait. But that's beside the point.
Right.
That's
Well,
going to reincarnate into a clip.
it's amazing what there's so much that we can't see, that we don't understand. And I'm just here trying to make heads or tails out of it. And this is what I've come to understand. So,
I think that I've said this before, and everybody thinks I'm joking, but it happens. Like, I used to be really obsessed with Hank Williams, and I still like Hank Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And like
Hank Williams.
Yeah, Hank Williams Jr. is my favorite artist. I don't know what that says about me, but Hank Williams, I really love, like Luke the Drifter. You never heard his alternate ego, like Hank Williams is Chris Gaines, Luke the Drifter.
Mm-hmm.
But Garth Brooks reference. But then, like, when I used to listen to the Hank Williams CDs, like in a truck, I'm feeling it now by saying it. Like, I'm getting chills, like up my head, my body. Like, I think maybe like I had some kind of connection to him before, or like maybe he's like a spirit guide to me or something. But I feel it now. Like, just mentioning it.
Sure, you probably did. I mean, especially if you had all these 30s references, because he lived in the 30s.
What if I was Hank Williams? And you won't understand this at all. But like, this is a joke that I tell. I was born 83 in August, and Bear Bryant died in January of 83. I don't know if you know who Bear Bryant is, but he's like he's like the world famous football coach that Alabama had.
Okay.
He was like the best football coach ever to live prior to Nick Saban. And so like I'm like, technically I could be Bear Bryant reincarnated. You never know. Because I never was going to go to college, and then all of a sudden events transpired and I ended up in Alabama. I don't know why. I didn't play for him or anything. That's just a joke I tell. It's irrelevant. But I always just kind of bring that up. I never was going to go to college. I was kind of stupid. Here I am.
Interesting. Yeah, we never know.
Sri Lanka. He lives in Sri Lanka. Kasoon does.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yep. He watches us right before he goes to bed. As he's getting up in the morning. It's like 7:30 in the morning over there.
That's right. It's over the international date line. Yeah.
Way over there.
Yeah.
Wow. Another thing I was drawn to is and he said, and here I am. One thing I'm drawn to is Savannah, Georgia. I don't know if it's just like I just whenever I travel to a place I want to live there, but Savannah like struck me a lot harder than some of the other ones.
Have you been there? Mm-hmm. I have too.
A few times.
Let me just tell you, there are a lot of dead people there.
Yeah, they're everywhere. It's like the whole place.
The whole city is haunted.
Do they talk to you?
Oh yeah, I actually have quite a number of stories in one of my books about that.
Oh shit, we're gonna have you back on and talk about Savannah then.
Yeah, but we talked earlier. We talked about the Cork City Jail in Ireland. Getting back to Tombstone for a minute, I went to the Birdcage Theater, and I wound up writing a book about that. The ghosts of the Birdcage Theater that I met. There were 11 ghosts that I encountered on a 2-hour ghost tour that the Birdcage Theater was having. 11 of them, and I was able to prove who they were, basically. Because the docent that was giving the tour said, "Oh yeah, we've seen this lady in white. Oh yeah, this is where the lady of the evening walks. Oh yeah, this guy was shot in the throat right here." And the other thing too that I didn't mention is that ghosts will share their pain of death with me.
Yeah.
So I was shot in the throat when I walked into the Birdcage Theater, and I fell against the wall, and I could taste blood in my mouth. So as a medium, they share that to prove their identity. So I sketched in that book. I sketched out a lot of the ghosts. I think 5 of the ghosts that I met, and had picture proof of 2 of them in there. So
I love watching the specials on the Birdcage Theater when they go in there. Did you see the one who I think it was Taps when they went there and they didn't know there was a mannequin? And they turned the corner and scared the shit out of him. He said, "Oh!"
Oh yeah, there's a mannequin in the basement where
Mhm.
the gambling tables are. That was also the episode, I think, where the cord unwound around the clock by itself.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so I ran into 11 different ghosts there, and they were drinkers, they were gamblers, they were ladies of the evening, um, actors, all kinds of people. So that was fascinating. And I went back a year later after the book published, and I did a book signing there in the Birdcage Theater, and I ran into several of those ghosts again, same ones, and 3 other ones that I was able to prove their identities. So,
See, whenever I have like that's one of the questions I asked mediums and investigators. Have they
mhm,
ever correlated real life to a ghost? And there's a fellow over in Blue Ridge, Georgia, who caught like a spirit in his house that helped him find a checkbook or something.
mhm,
And he found, like, asked him his name and stuff. Found his name was like Danny. That's not his name, but how he died. He found out he died of a cardiac arrest. And he even went to the courthouse and found like his or some public record and found like his um article about when he tragically died in a fire or something like that.
wow.
Yeah, because he said fire. You know how the spirit boxes work.
Mhm, yep.
Here, check this out. I was going to show you. Mentioned earlier the Cork Theater. This is in Huntsville, Tennessee. Look at that. The Scott County Jail.
Oh, wow.
These 2 ladies, they run it as a museum, but it's a haunted attraction. Check out that. That's when you said it looked like a castle.
Yeah.
Not Huntsville, Alabama. It's Huntsville, Tennessee, just north of Knoxville. It'd be cool if you could go there and see what they saw. But yeah, they do these ghost tours overnight and everything.
Yeah, I don't do the overnight ones.
I've done
I
one, and I'll get bored, and I'm like, it's cold, and I gotta pee really bad.
Exactly, right, exactly. I'll go for like 6 hours, and that's so.
Dude, this dude bought me a ticket to one, and I went with him, and it was like it's from 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. Like, I ain't gonna make that. Like, I'm gonna have to lie to this dude about 11. There ain't no way I'm
Mhm,
making it till 2. It was like an hour and a half from my house. I'm like, I ain't gonna make it at 2 a.m. So I
yeah,
gotta go. It was like 35 degrees in that place, and it's cold spots everywhere, and it was haunted. I'm like, I've seen enough.
yeah, that would be enough for me too.
We
Um,
put that K2. Sorry, I'm rambling. We put that K2 in a chair, and it lit up. And we're like, can you make it go? When you make it go more, and it lit it up all the way. And I picked that chair up and walked it around like it was a daggum Jewish wedding.
wow.
I'm walking his chair around his operating room in his hospital, and it didn't change at all. Like, the ghost stayed with it. Normally if you move a K2 from where it was, it just goes away. This sucker all the way around the room. There's pictures of it. I set it back down, and we're talking to it, and we're like, if you can make it, and it starts going as we're doing this. And I took it off. I took the K2 off the chair and moved it next to it, and then it went off. When I put it
Wow.
back on the chair, it goes back up. Like, we moved the K2 by itself. Nothing. Move the K2 on the chair, full bore, full regalia. And about that time, this other group walks in. So, what you guys see? Anything? Went off. Never got another reading in there.
Well,
And I
all that
wasn't even
makes sense.
scared.
So that was that gnost's chair, and when
Yeah,
you
it was a
carried it
chair.
around, he still sat there. And
Can you imagine how it was feeling? Like, okay, you fat mother, quit, put me down. But like, it was like it was the craziest. That's the most paranormal thing that's happened. Like, concrete to me. I mean, I had other things, obviously, but like, and I wasn't scared. I was like genuinely interested. I'm like, okay, this is happening. Not 1 ounce of fear hit me. Not even a little. Like, I was genuinely like, okay, this is doing. Because I was like friends with the ghost for a second. Like, me and this guy or whoever it was. I think we concluded it was a girl. And I don't know why I say Nancy, but yeah, that happened. And then they have in this old hospital in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, same place. They don't have a body chute or a morgue. And so they just had a room about the size of my bedroom here. And that's the body chute, our body room. They just put them in there until the county can come get them, kind of out of the way. And we were doing a SD session, with what SD session is?
I
Where
don't.
you blindfold and you earmuff with
Okay.
the spirit box in your ears.
Okay.
And the person doing the spirit box that can't see or hear anything, he just says the words, and they're all in this waiting room. It's like a little grief room for the family.
Mhm.
And there's a popular local ghost hunter there, and she's kind of being the MC of this little event. And shout out to JB Coates. But and when the guy I was with, Will, is doing the Estes. He's the one, has the earphones and the blindfold. And he says 14 people, and JB counts, and there's 14 people in that room, not counting. And I'm like in a side room, just relaying what he's saying. So in counting all of us in that room, including us, we're all 14. And then this other little group walks in, and it said something. I don't know what it said. It's yada yada yada. And then it left. They left. And he said 5 people just left. I'm like, God almighty. That kind of got me. No fear, but I was like, man, that's crazy.
Wow. That is crazy.
But yeah, that's the most paranormal thing that's happened. No, nothing like experience. I mean, I did feel some cold spots, but it was in a haunted hospital. I just kind of expected it. But but when I was actually in the midst of it, I did not feel fear. I didn't get touched. I said, don't touch me. I'm here for exhibition purposes only. Please don't touch me. Don't ruin this for me. Please don't touch me or come home with me.
Exactly. So I've learned that so hospitals, prisons, and battlefields are full of ghosts because they in hospitals they die suddenly. They wake up as an energy entity, if you will, and they're confused. They don't know where they are, and then they linger too long, and then they get stuck. Prisons. Often they choose not to cross over because they fear going to a bad place. Although I've learned that there really isn't a bad place. It's all love and acceptance and peace on the other side. But there are 3 levels. And battlefields are the same. People die in battle. It's sudden, dramatic. They wake up, they're confused. As a scientist, I will tell you that I've been able to explain things like why a ghost gets stuck and why there are cold spots when they try to manifest and stuff. It's all about energy. So my theory about the ghosts, by the way, is that when we die, our energy is at its peak, which makes sense. After a while, after we're stuck, after we linger too long, it's like a battery. It's like a charging battery that starts to go down after a while. And when it gets below a certain threshold, they cannot any longer open the doorway to the other side. So they need paranormal investigators and mediums to combine their emotional energies to open a doorway. So it's really about energy, the whole thing.
That's why they drain it. Now, now, if they don't find somebody like you or anybody, do they just hang out forever?
Yeah.
That's got to be tough.
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, really, honestly, Bobby, that's what hell really is. That's
what I always thought. Down, like it just can't get back across.
Yeah, and you can't they can't communicate with people in spirit either. So, imagine it's like being in an isolation cell for your entire afterlife, eternity, unless you're lucky enough to communicate with somebody living to help you cross over. So, my advice to everybody: don't stay earthbound as a ghost. Cross over into the light. No matter what you did, you'll be forgiven on the other side, and you'll realize, what bad things you may have done, and you'll change on the other side.
Unless you're a cat, then you're probably going to be here for a while.
Well, yeah.
That's the thing with the Bigfoot do the draining of batteries, and the aliens do the drain and the manipulation of electronics, but ghosts just straight up need it to do the B. They're doing it for a different reason.
Yeah,
ghosts are like, okay, I want to knock this thing over, but I need every ounce of battery in that meter. They want to be seen.
Yes, and most common that what we pick up on recorders is help me, and what do they want help with? They want help crossing over because they realize they made a big mistake.
And they'll be like, or they'll say, "Get out" a lot. Get out.
Yeah.
You like that movie, The Others? Nicole Kidman, where they thought they were ghosts in the house. Man, you should.
I didn't see
that. Out of your alley. Well, anyway, it's been $1.19, and I didn't realize it'd been that long.
Oh my gosh,
we have had a hell of a time, and Kassoon's here. But do you have anything you want to plug? I know all your websites are in the description, so that's all taken care of.
I guess a couple of things. People go to robgutro.com. Can't spell my last name. Type in petspirits.com. Takes you to the same place. I'm on all the social media. If people have questions about the paranormal, I love questions because I post the answers, and I will answer you as well. Know that if your pet passes and you're not there, they chose to pass that way because they wanted to save you from seeing them pass. They want you to remember them as an active pet. They know that we can't handle their passing if they pass when you're not there. And they also know that they appreciate you helping them cross over because you've learned the lesson of unconditional love, really. So those are a couple of things. I also do pet readings. Although I'm booked out a year right now, I just retired. So
a year. Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know. But
all right, we'll wrap it up. Thanks everybody for watching, and be sure to share with your buddies because this has been a good one. Did not expect it to be this good, and I always expect it to be good from Michelle, but golly. So I'll hit that theme music, and thanks for coming on, Rob. I think we've got other subjects we can talk about coming back.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Yep, I will be in touch. Peace, everybody.
I never didn't believe in Bigfoot. I never believed in it. I didn't believe in it. I never gave it any thought.
They kept wood knocking back and forth to each other, and it was in a pattern.
Barn owls don't typically throw rocks.
I come across these tracks.
Sasquatch is still not on my mind.